makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
This video is a bit painful to make because I'm going to end up criticizing an idea that I'm strongly in favor of, and that is Medicare for all. I am a firm believer that every American deserves to have universal health care. It cannot be that the richest country in the world does not have a universal healthcare system when every other Western country has one, and even many third world countries have, if not some form of universal healthcare, at least like a partial version. I am from Mexico, and we have we're a country that is 1/5 as rich on a per capita basis as the US. 1/5. And yet we have a public healthcare system for a significant amount of workers. And we have some other forms of coverage for even people who aren't formally employed. So if Mexico can do it, what's the excuse for the US? And the answer is none. Now, there is a problem when good ideas are promoted by the wrong people. And that's because there runs a risk that those wrong people will find a way to eventually derail these ideas and ensure that they actually do not materialize, either because they're actively working against them, which I suspect is the case for a number of people, pushing the Medicare for all debate, but also because they can make it so unappealing that people who are sort of on the fence, whether to support this good idea or not, can end up being just completely repulsed by the type of people promoting it. And I think that is the main risk of the situation here. So, what happened? On July 24th, that is last Saturday, there were a number of marches that were held across the US in something like 50 plus cities on promoting Medicare for all. So these marches were called M4M4ALL, so March for Medicare for All. And on paper, this seems great. You know, if people want to go out on the street and want to march and protest for something that is essentially should be a basic right, like healthcare, I am 100% for this. I also suspect that a lot of people who were in these marches were doing it for very good intentions. They were genuine about their desire to push for this. But the problem is, I'm not quite sure the organizers of this really are as committed to Medicare for all as they claim to be. And in fact, a lot of the people who were given speaker positions in these marches are some of the most infamous members of what the late leftist pundit Michael Brooks called the dumb left. And one name will come to mind because my channel is strongly opposed to him, and that's Jimmy Dore. And it's not just Jimmy Dore. There's an entire ecosystem around Jimmy Dore of basically this dumb left. Many of them, dare I say most of them, were also part of a group pushing Force the Vote a couple of months ago. Force the Vote, for those of you who have not heard of it, was an attempt to basically get the progressive members of Congress to withhold their support for Nancy Pelosi unless there was a floor vote on Medicare for all. Now, the problem is that it should be obvious to everyone that a vote for Medicare for all in the current Congress will not pass by no stretch of the imagination. And there was legitimate criticisms from other segments of the left, dare I say almost the entire left, aside from the dumb left, that opposed Force the Vote from a tactical perspective, even though they are, in broadly speaking, in support of Medicare for all. You can be in support of an idea, but then against a particular tactic on how that idea is going to be pushed. And that is very respectable. The problem is that the dumb left essentially took every every other leftist who was against forced to vote as a traitor to the cause, a quote shitlib, or just essentially an operative of the democratic establishment. And this generated a massive rift that is just widening day by day. And I see on Twitter, I see on YouTube, so many people just falling into this vortex. And in some cases, I think it's because of desperation, and we can't really blame them. But in a lot of people, especially the ones who are promoting it, there's definitely an element of grift. These people benefit from giving the impression that they are the true leftists, that everyone not as left as they are secretly traitors and liberal centrists, and they benefit from this. You know, they benefit in terms of how many people subscribe to their YouTube channels, how many likes they get on Twitter, etc. They're nowhere near as powerful as they think they are. In fact, I made a video on Jimmy Dore appearing on Tucker Carlson's show where he grossly inflates his importance to the left movement. But you get the idea, right? So, again, this is a painful video to do because I wish this wasn't the case. I wish this march had gone on, and I wish the people who had been leading this march were people who were genuinely committed to the cause. And sadly, I don't think that many were. And I'm going to show a video of some of them while they're speaking, and also show you sort of their backgrounds as well. Because when you look at who these people really are, then you'll realize that these people aren't just not really that committed to Medicare for all or leftist causes in general. There is actually a real risk that this ecosystem of the dumb left is going to turn into the left's QAnon. Like, that's how bad it is. So, without further ado, let's watch Jimmy Dore's speech. Very short speech. I'm sure he had many other important things to do, and I didn't see any pictures of him sort of mingling with people. So he just appeared, gave this like 2-minute speech, and then disappeared. But remember, he is one of the leaders of this movement. Here we go. Oh, by the way, this video is from Jackson Hinkle, who is another member of this dumb left ecosystem.
Next speaker needs no introduction. Our brother from another mother, Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy!
I love you, Jimmy! Hey, where's CNN? Where the fuck is CNN?
Nice new skirt, Jimmy!
Oh, there it is. Well, we're all out here and we're letting you know we need Medicare for all. But CNN is sponsored by Big Pharma and Blue Cross, so they don't want you to have Medicare for all. So I'd say, fuck CNN!
Fuck CNN!
CNN!
Remember, the drug of choice for these people is just anti-establishment. Like any point, any political position that is anti-establishment, that is what they will follow. There is no nuance whatsoever. The establishment can never be right on anything whatsoever. So he starts immediately riling his audience.
Fuck CNN!
And the establishment media!
Fuck the establishment media!
When I started forced to vote, everybody
Except for Fox News, which he goes on very frequently. That doesn't count.
said that it was a great idea until all of a sudden it wasn't. I don't know what happened, but everybody lost their balls in the middle of the fight for forced to vote for Medicare for all. They said now is not the time. Now is the time. The time was 100 fucking years ago. We gotta make it happen now. People are dying now. Now is the time.
In case you noticed, the audience is really tiny. Really tiny. I mean, I've had speaking engagements with twice as many people there. This is, yeah.
Tell the media, tell CNN, tell the Washington Post, tell the Young Turks, now is the time for Medicare for all. You tell those progressives that we helped elect that now is the time for Medicare for all. Stand up against Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden, and do what we elected you to do, and fight for us.
Fuck yeah!
Medicare for All is complicit in murder of the American people.
Now we move on to the typical part of this discourse, which is really the culprits of there not being any healthcare in the US is the progressive left. Because that's who he basically always ends up bashing. AOC, the Squad, they're the traitors. They're the real traitors. That they are the object of his fury.
A third of all COVID deaths can be attributed to a lack of Medicare for all. I thought it was only Trump who didn't give a shit about Americans dying from COVID. Turns out Joe Biden and the Democrats don't give a shit about it either. Because if they did, they'd give us Medicare for all and 100,000 more people would be alive right now.
The grand majority of deaths in the US happened before Joe Biden became president. So, fact.
They don't give a shit about it, and they don't give a shit about you. So what we have to do is make CNN uncomfortable. We have to make the Squad uncomfortable. We have to make Bernie Sanders uncomfortable. Where is he? Where is he?
This is incredible. Like, there is no one, literally no one, in the United States who is single-handedly most responsible for pushing the idea of universal healthcare than Bernie Sanders. No one. I mean, to imagine that you somehow stand for Medicare for all more than Bernie Sanders does is a testament to the absolute egomaniacal idiocy of this man. This is insane. This is absolutely insane.
Hey, Bernie, where's your movement? Where is your movement, Bernie? I'll tell you where it is. It's in the streets of America. It's right here! Fighting for Medicare for all while you're taking fucking orders from Joe Biden. Bernie, what do you look from? Where are you, Bernie? Your movement's right here. Get out here. Where are you, AOC? The movement is in the
There's like 100 people there. That's not a movement. That's just the crowd.
street. Where are you? Are you taking another picture with Mama Bear for Vanity Fair? Are you guys out shopping for refrigerators? Right now, Joe Biden, instead of giving us health care, is bombing the poorest people on earth in Africa. That guy loves bombing so much you think it was a little girl's hair.
Oh my God.
Medicare for all, Medicare now, no more waiting, put pressure on politicians, make them scared of you, make them scared to death of you, fuck the politicians, let's go to their house, let's go!
Holy shit.
Medicare for all, thank you, I'll see you later.
Let's go to their houses. Oh my God. Like, that is, I mean, he's essentially promoting violence right there because his dipshit supporters, God knows what the hell they're capable of. And like I said, that was it.
Woo!
That's Jackson Hinkle, another douchebag.
Jimmy! 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 Jimmy!
Well, that's what I like to hear. Let's show my people
Jimmy
houses,
fucking
they get
Dore.
flashlights and bullhorns.
Jimmy fucking Dore! Holy shit! Holy shit!
And if we don't force them, it's never gonna
Jimmy
happen.
fucking
It's never,
Dore.
never. We need to
Holy
stop asking.
shit.
We need to start demanding
And where'd he run to? Where'd he go?
from this Democratic corrupt party.
God
And because
damn.
Santiago, your staffer, chair of the LACDP, is a corrupt piece of shit.
Oh, that woman who's here is someone called Fiorella Isabel, and we're gonna listen to her in a second because she's gonna end up speaking as well to the same crowd.
And he's destroying LA County. The reason this county is so fucked up is because the Los Angeles County Democratic Party is beholden to corporate donors and is not allowing the people like myself elected to represent the 63rd District in Southeast South Central LA to vote and fight for the policies that are going to help my community. It's the reason.
Okay, enough of that because that's just madness. So, let us fast forward and listen to Fiorella Isabel, and she's by far the most interesting character in this whole story. And we're gonna do a bit of a dive into her Twitter account in a bit. But first, just watch this video.
Circle, because in January Jackson, myself, and a few others here today were at Force the Vote. And it took a lot of courage to come in the bitter cold of January and to be faced with so much hatred, not just by the right, but by the Democratic establishment and some faux aggressive leftists who refuse to call out their politicians, who refuse to hold them accountable. We have the squad who ran with working people's money, who ran and took every last cent that a lot of us had and didn't push for Medicare for all. Who ran.
She took all your income? How is that even, how is that possible?
Right now refuse to retweet any of the March events.
Oh, she just thought you're angry because she didn't retweet you. Okay. You see where this is going. Like you see exactly where the grift is going with these ones.
Okay, we had one show up, Cori Bush, props to her for showing up in DC. But if you're gonna run, if you're gonna have a mask that says Medicare for all, if you're gonna have merch that says Medicare for all, and you're not gonna do a goddamn thing to actually push it, I have a problem with that. Because we have people dying every single day right now. One of the most memorable things I saw in that January was a young man wearing all his medical bills along his jacket. Those were all the bills that he had to pay because we don't have healthcare in this country. And if the government gave a damn about giving you healthcare, they would have done it at the very least during a pandemic. But they don't care. So the fight for healthcare doesn't end with Medicare for all. It is.
By the way, note that she just said the government isn't giving you healthcare. This is going to be very important when we start looking at her Twitter profile. So just take that into account.
Only the beginning, because we cannot have these politicians in the government bring in big pharma to tell us everything we need to do. When did we start trusting every single politician and every single thing that came out of this big pharma? They need to get out. We, the people, need to write the
Big pharma, the makers of coronavirus vaccines. Again, this will be very important when we look at her history.
legislation. We, the people, need to have our voice. And that's the reality, because at the end of the day, when we were there on January 4th or 5th, fighting for Force the Vote, and there was also a Julian Assange protest, the reason we were all there was because we were censored. Because the mainstream media, like CNN right here, censors independent media. All of you here, independent media, are crucial because they don't talk about Medicare for all. They're propagandists for the state agencies. And that's why we're here today. That's why you see us here. And they were trying to censor us. We had more police surrounding us at Force the Vote and Julian Assange than they had police on January 6th. Thank you guys.
What the hell? What the hell?
Whoa. Again, if this discourse, this language starts sounding a bit familiar to you, rest assured, your suspicions will be proven right. But, anyway, you may have heard that she referenced Cori Bush being one of the members of the squad, and she was the only one who made an appearance during the DC protest. And I want to show you, again, just to show you the lunacy of this Force the Vote ecosystem, you know, this dumb left. Here's a guy who supposedly interviewed her during her appearance at DC, which I don't think she actually spoke. I'm not quite sure. I didn't see anything. So, let's watch.
Okay, so I was going to wait till tomorrow morning to do this, but I just want to get it out of my head right now, you know, while it's still fresh, while the sunburn's still fresh on my face, you know. So, I met Cori Bush. Representative Cori Bush made a surprise appearance at the March for Medicare for All rally in Lincoln Park in Washington, D.C. today. And so, you know, noticing Cori Bush, I walk over to her and I ask, can I interview you? You know, can I just ask you 2 questions on camera, just real quick? You know, her and her security guard look at each other. They're kind of suspicious of me. They're like, you know, who are you with? And I say, I'm totally independent. I'm just doing this for myself. You know, I just do this alone. And then I was like, here, I'll even tell you the questions before I start filming so that you can decide whether you want to do this or not. And so I said, the first question is, why are you here today? You know, why'd you show up to the March for Medicare for All? The second question was, how would you respond to your Force the Vote critics who think that elected progressives should use their leverage as a block. And Corey responds, I'll answer the first question for you. I support Medicare for all because, a good answer on why you would support Medicare for all. But then when it came to the second question, I asked again, why can't you answer the second question? Oh, it's just manufactured division. It's not really a problem. We're not that divided at all. That's just manufactured, basically just brushing it off as if nobody has a reasonable concern, like as if forced to vote wasn't even a real thing. And so while she's walking away, I say that was a very politician-y answer of you to give. Because it was like, what the fuck? She totally just dodged it. All of these people showed up this day. Plenty of them, you'll see in the interviews I post, plenty of them were supporters of forcing the vote on Medicare for all. And for Cori Bush to just disrespectfully say that it's a manufactured division and that it's not worthy of her to respond to, I was furious. So, but, it's over. She walks away. She's still here at the rally today. Okay.
So, again, this is sort of the binary vision of politics that these people have, that they simply do not accept that other people might disagree with your tactics, even though they agree with your idea. And literally everyone who supports forced to vote has that mentality. It is not a coincidence at all that everyone in this ecosystem has such passionate hatred over really the only kind of true leftist that exists in any position of power in the U.S. And there's the outright dumb left represented by Jimmy Dore, but then there's also the forced to vote pundits who are slightly more respectable. The Brianna Joy Grays of this world, the Kyle Kolinskis, but their views are also, aligned in more ways than one with the Jimmy Dore universe. But anyway, Cori Bush, AOC, no one in the squad owes these people anything in terms of agreeing to the specific tactic in which Medicare for all must necessarily be passed. Like, they just don't. This is so childish. And actually, possibly the most famous leftist in the world, Noam Chomsky, called them childish. So here's another one that I saw, and this is, remember, see how I'm sort of hinting that there's a deeper undercurrent, a conspiracy theory undercurrent behind this. And this speech also really is demonstrative of this. So here we go. And again, just the anger at AOC and the squad is just insane. When, no anger whatsoever against Republicans. No anger whatsoever against the establishment is seen as the main enemy, the Democratic establishment. But really, the ones that they're particularly angry about is the leftist.
Almost done. Let me finish.
No, I'm sorry, but you're finished now.
Force the vote!
I'm sure some of you guys are thinking that, you're probably not talking about my favorite congressperson, and they're one of the good guys, right? But are they? Because how many of them are out here with us?
None of them!
How many of them were willing to force the vote on Medicare for all?
None of them!
All right, I'll finish right now.
Let him speak!
Look, we need to clean house.
We need a clean house!
We have on a time schedule. There's other people that need to speak. We have to go. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We need to clean house. Okay, so you're going to replace them with who? You're going to find leftier people to replace the squad? Good luck with that. That is just astounding. Anyway, now that we've done the videos, let's look at Twitter, because this is, yeah, so first and foremost, this is the official Twitter of the organizers of the march, and you'll notice that not many followers. And this is important to note, because this is kind of why a lot of these politicians, namely the squad, did not really endorse this march and did not even go, aside from Cori Bush. And also why there were so few people in it. I mean, you saw the video at the LA march where Jimmy Dore and Fiorella Isabel spoke. That was very few people. That was, just, I would say, probably less than 200 people there. And you know how she referred to a lot of them in the front as like independent media. How many of those were actually just, YouTubers and bloggers and in this dumb left ecosystem? So how many people there were actually like genuine people who went out and protested for Medicare for all? I'm not sure how many there were. At least not in the LA ones. I've seen some pictures of I think the DC march had more people. But obviously, when they're called out on the fact that they did not have that many people there, this is their response. So here's another one of the many independent news organizations that are behind this. And here is, I'm gonna just show you. They complain. So yeah, WGN reported over 100 people. It's awesome how the mainstream media underreports those who show up to fight and advocate healthcare as a basic human right. Let's look at how many people actually, from their own, like, these are the same pictures that they're retweeting. So first they're complaining that it was only over 100 people. What does that look to you like? I mean, you can count them, and it's just at most it's 200 people. Now, it would seem to me that if you wanted to show, there's nothing more impressive in a protest in terms of if you're going to show the photos of the amount of people. Like, that is the sign of just how impactful a protest is. Just show like the swarms of people, where there's not a single square meter of space on a giant avenue or boulevard. Like, that's what you want to show. Not this. Like, don't show this as like an example of how many people showed up and then complain that the quote mainstream media accurately mentioned how many people there were. So that's the kind of people we're dealing with. Who else was involved in this? There's Steph Samorano, one of the producers of the Jimmy Dore show. She's always on the show. She is annoying as hell. Again, it's all against AOC, all against the squad. Oh, why were AOC and Nina Turner not at the marches? Well, Nina Turner, because she's running for friggin' office in Ohio and running a campaign. And guess who was supporting her on that campaign? AOC. That's why they weren't there. Now, these dipshits apparently think that it's more important for someone like Nina Turner to suspend her campaign on a weekend and go to a march attended by 100 people, or 200 at most, rather than an actual campaign for a seat in Congress. I mean, that is insane. That is the level of egomaniacal thinking of these people, that they feel that they deserve, that these politicians have to go to their event, that they have to follow their tactics. This is crazy. Like, this is just how alienated from reality they are. And because these are the people who were promoting this march, that's precisely why a lot of these politicians didn't go, because they don't want to be associated with these kind of grifters. That's a fact. I wouldn't have gone. Like, just no. Crazy. Anyway, now we get to the fun part. Now we get to see who this Fiorella Isabel character is, because she is by far the most batshit insane one of the bunch. And so she is one of the two hosts of I had never heard of this site before, the Convo Couch, which is, basically Jimmy Dore talking points, in every sense of the word. And, she's retweeting that same video that I just showed you. Again, anti-AOC things. This one just tells you the scale of how basically just how horrible they are. Someone tweets, people didn't get to beg the squad to come over for the marches, have Cori Bush show, have people on stage actively lie about it, then berate her, and then expect her to smile and bow down, and then deal with online attacks. Focus, you ghouls. Cori came. Good. Yeah, good. I mean, if I was organizing this march and I had one prominent politician come, that'd be great. And she responds, Cori is good? How exactly? Supporting fascist legislation but not forcing the vote on healthcare, refusing to promote a national march for healthcare, and then showing up for a photo op because gullible progressives like you eat it up, and then the squad doesn't have to answer because of it? Wow. So basically you can't do anything that isn't exactly what they want. Like nothing. That is just disgusting. But here's the best part. And here's where I mentioned that this segment of the left, this dumb left, is so knee-deep into conspiracy theories. And I've seen this all the time. I see this with like Latin American leftists all the time. The more left that you are, or rather, the more left you think you are, because your brand of leftism is basically just opposing things rather than proposing things, the more you start to adopt the exact same conspiracy theories of the right. And this is what happens when you Google, when you search for Fiorella Isabel and vaccines. Turns out she's an anti-vaxxer. Here we go. Before the vaccine, Cuba was using hydrochloroquine. A Trumpian conspiracy theory. Yeah, vaccines. Experimental vaccines. Blind trust in big pharma and are demanding mandatory vaccines. While calling everyone who simply questions and distrusts an experimental vaccine with many issues quote, anti-vaxxer, you might as well deep throat that imperial boot, you moronic cuck. That's the people that you think AOC wants to associate with. That's the people you want to share a platform with. You actually think that she's gonna speak, and then AOC is immediately gonna speak like right after that, because you don't know if she's gonna give some crazy conspiracy theory. Holy shit! Like holy fucking shit! Yeah, forcing experimental vaccines on people is fascistic. Oh, God. That's the type. And here's her co-host, Craig Pasta Jardula. Unfortunately, I will no longer be attending speaking at the M4A march. The local organizers, after asking me if I was vaccinated, demanded I wear a mask and take a COVID test. Seems pretty fucking reasonable to me. I refused. I will not be told when and what to do with my body. I support M4A, not medical tyranny for all. Again, do you expect a respectable politician like AOC, like Nina Turner, like any other member of the squad, to associate with these cretins? The answer is no. And that is why they didn't go. And that is why so few people actually went. And I genuinely feel, like I said, I feel sorry for the people who went to this march with, genuine intentions, that it was based on an actual desire to promote Medicare for all, and not just the massive grift from the dumb left, the conspiracy theory loving anti-vax dumb left. And now, that's bad enough. You can say, hey, you can still be a conspiracy theorist, but be in favor of Medicare for all. Well, not really. Again, here's Fiorella Isabel going on a Twitter rant against Matt Binder, who is he's one of the people in the Majority Report. I love his Twitter, by the way. I strongly recommend people follow him. And he's pointing out exactly the stuff that I'm mentioning, you know, what a hypocrite she is. And she replies, "Nice, Matt. For a quote leftist, it's funny how you don't get what I'm saying here. I don't trust the government to implement healthcare because they're too powerful and terrible at everything else, but I want Medicare for all. Where does it say I don't support Medicare for all? You're so bad faith." What the fuck? How do you expect Medicare for all to be implemented in any other way but the federal government? This is universal healthcare. This is crazy. Even funnier how the supposed left thinks that the only big government can give healthcare. Have you heard of direct democracy where people vote directly for what they want? No representatives. So my idea as the empire falls to have democracy, but that won't work in the current... She doesn't even know what she wants. Like, she has no fucking idea what like, the word is in the phrase. Medicare. They're not promoting universal healthcare in some like vague generic way. Medicare for all is expanding a system that already exists. That's called Medicare. That is incredibly efficient, by the way. And who runs Medicare? Jesus Christ. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Yeah. So there you go. These are the people promoting these ideas. I don't... Oh, and some more evidence of like the grift. Why is Jimmy Dore doing a paywall episode about the march? Isn't the point to get as many people involved as possible and not already people who watch you? I find this very disturbing and disappointing. Yeah, I also find it very disturbing and disappointing. If I was doing a video on something that I was so committed about, I would not put it on the paywall if I had a paywall. So, yeah. Tell me that this is not a grift in any way. And yeah, this is so sad. This is really so sad, because this goes to show you how easy it is in our sort of social media online ecosystems to hijack what is essentially a good idea, you know, a policy that every American deserves, and have it hijacked by people like Jimmy Dore and these other dipshit dumb leftists who don't really care about Medicare for all. They would love it if Medicare for all never passed, because then that would let them keep grifting. So they're not really interested in it. You know, all they're interested is in this aesthetic of anti-establishment rhetoric and protest, and they're not really interested in the actual policies. Here's the best example. Why is no one complaining about the fact that Tulsi Gabbard didn't go? Tulsi Gabbard is the idol of a lot of this dumb left. Famously, Jimmy Dore endorsed her, even above Bernie Sanders, despite the fact that she was a bit, you know, she wasn't in favor of Medicare for all. So how can you be committed to an idea when you yourself supported a candidate who wasn't in favor of Medicare for all? Why is no one complaining that Tulsi Gabbard isn't there? I wonder. And a lot of the sites that were part of this organizing, that had people speaking there, a lot of them were also part of the sort of Tulsi Gabbard stands. You know, the Nico houses and all these other ones. They were also involved in this. So ask yourself why. Ask yourself why AOC and the squad are the object of their rage, and never say Republicans. Ask them why people who are fundamentally anti-science, like Fiorella Isabel and Mr. Pasta, why they're so anti-science, and then involving themselves, anti-medical science, and then involved in an issue that essentially is about, it's a medical issue. So, the grift is outstanding, and it's such a shame that people get caught into this vortex, because, like I said, online it's really easy to just get caught up in this, caught up in the rhetoric and the aesthetics of fighting against the establishment, and then actually realizing that the people who are leading this are just using you for their own benefit. So again, I would have rather not done this video. I would have rather seen a protest, even if they were small, know that they were led by people who were really committed to Medicare for all. Not these douchebags. Just no. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, please subscribe. That's the more important thing. And please don't get caught in this dumb left vortex. Just please open your eyes. Politics is not black and white. Politics is not this binary mentality that these people want to push. And please open your eyes to the fact that all these people want is to position themselves always further to the left of the leftist person in power, so that they can continue grifting, and so much to the left that they stop being left. That's really the problem with this. So thanks for watching.